Hey everyone, it's almost summer and I am so excited. Now let's go see the tired old queen at the movies, Steve Hayes.
Oh, Johnny, it's disaster time on Tired Old Queen at the Movies. You're just in time. Come on. Johnny, we hadn't done a disaster movie in a while, nor had we done a Tyrone Power movie in a while. So I decided to choose 1937's In Old Chicago with Tyrone Power, Alice Faye, Don Ameche, Brian Donlevy, Andy Devine, and in her Academy Award winning role, Alice Brady as Mrs. O'Leary. Now, the success of San Francisco over at MGM in 1936 had been a real impressive thing for Darryl F. Zanuck over at 20th Century Fox, and he wanted to duplicate that somehow. So he took on the 1870s fire in Chicago and the story of the O'Learys. Remember? One Friday night while I was in my bed, Mrs. O'Leary tied a lantern in her shed and then the cow kicked it over and we just said there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. So this is what happened. This is a family that comes to Chicago. It's got two competing brothers. One is called Dion, and that's played by Tyrone Power, and the other one is played by Don Ameche. And they're kind of rascals and they're fun. And Mrs. O'Leary loses her husband on wagon train on the way, and that's Alice Brady. And so she raises her kids and she works really, really hard. And the boys grow up and Don Ameche goes into politics and becomes the honest brother. Tyrone Power goes into creating a saloon, and he is the one that is sort of the bad boy of the family.
I give up. I've got one son that steals my laundry and spends his money heaven knows where. Another a lawyer and wins cases and don't get paid for them.
They're constantly fighting, and Tyrone Power falls in love with Alice Faye. Now, Alice Faye was the queen of song at 20th Century Fox, and she was gorgeous, and she had this limpid-eyed beauty, and she sang beautifully. And so they put her in this as the love interest. Well, Mrs. O'Leary takes an instant dislike to her right away because her name is Belle Fawcett and she is nothing but a tramp.
Ma, this is Miss Fawcett. This is Belle.
She is Irish and she wanted her boys to marry proper women.
You always were so stubborn.
You don't stop it, I'll give you the licking of your life.
The comedy in this comes from Andy Devine.
You ruined it!
There was already a hole in it, Mrs. O'Leary.
Great big guy with that whitey voice. He's so funny and everything. Brian Donlevy is the crooked guy who's always trying to undermine the O'Learys, and he's trying to, fix Don Ameche and, trundle his career, and he's also trying to fix Tyrone Power and cause trouble there. So he's the bad guy of the lot.
It's a nice place you have here, but like a tinderbox. Touch a match to it and it'll go off like a Roman candle.
Well, the whole thing, kind of goes along. You have a great feel of Chicago, and it was a booming town, and it was new, and it was big, and it was very, very exciting at that time. And then they do the scene when the cow kicks over the lantern.
Hey, one at a time. Quit that nudging.
There's a calf and it's nursing this cow, and it gives her a big yank on the udder. This cow, you go, ow! You even watch this movie and you go, ow, that hurt! And that cow kicks that lantern over, and that starts the conflagration, and the whole city goes up. They burned this fire on the lot at 20th Century Fox for 3 days. This fire burned. It was spectacular. Everything was done, by Fred Searson, who 2 years later would win the first Academy Award for special effects for The Rains Came, for that spectacular earthquake and flood that we showed you on Tired Old Queen at the Movies. And the whole thing culminates in this gigantic earthquake sequence Fred Searson got the Academy Award for. It's amazing. The ground splits open and people fall in. Temples collapse. There's that... and everybody's like this. It's just spectacular. This fire is so terrifying, and it swept through so fast. It engulfed practically the whole city, and it's hundreds of extras running and buildings collapsing and people getting trapped, and Mrs. O'Leary is separated from the family, and she and Belle finally hook up together and they kind of bond, and Belle has already broken up with Tyrone Power because he's you know, just being too crooked, and she likes the brother, but she's not in love with the brother, and it's got all this kind of melodrama.
There's a big fire in the patch!
Yeah, where?
The Coleman Street looks like the whole street's gone!
It was the big picture for Fox that year, and it was a humongous success, and it really helped to make Tyrone Power an astronomical star, and he stayed on for another 20 years at 20th Century Fox as one of their main guys.
You dirty dog.
You love me?
Certainly not.
Orson Welles once said to Peter Bogdanovich, everybody looks better in black and white. Well, Tyrone Power and Alice Faye, you can't decide which one is more beautiful. And Tyrone Power tended to do that for his leading ladies. He was so pretty himself that the leading ladies would just come up and look that much more glorious with him. He was also, Alice Faye said, the nicest guy in the world to work with. He was just always a gentleman.
So this is where you live, eh?
Yes. Way up there on the second floor.
Well, I think I can make it.
Back to the hut, quick!
Hey, wait a minute!
What a woman.
Darryl F. Zanuck was an amazing, amazing, amazing producer. He had an innate knowledge of what the public wanted to see, and he was able to combine really good intimate stories with huge background and huge spectacles. This movie is classy, it's entertaining, it whips along at a clip, and I think you are gonna go crazy over Tyrone Power, Alice Faye, Don Ameche, Alice Brady in her Oscar-winning performance, and Andy Devine in Henry King's In Old Chicago. Chicago, Chicago, da-da-da-da-da.
Let's all go to the lobby.
When Alice Brady won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, she had broken her leg and she couldn't show up. So they announced, and the winner is Alice Brady in Old Chicago. And this guy walked up on the stage and they gave him the award and he thanked him very much and he walked off the stage and he walked out the door. He was a total stranger. He walked off with her Oscar. She didn't get it for another year. Because they couldn't figure out who this schmuck was, and he was just some guy who walked off the street and walked off with her Oscar.
The popcorn can't be beat.